Hello and welcome to a demo video. In this video I want to go through the problems that we handed out in class on Monday. I'm going to start from the beginning and just work our way through. I know somebody was absent, so that way they can kind of see how we got the numbers, as well as give you guys an opportunity to maybe review or whatnot. So the first problem we have, they give us a number of um, a number of values for foreign currency. So just as a quick reminder here, bear with me. Okay. So remember, we have three columns, right? The first column, they give us the foreign currency, okay? And I'm just going to take the first one. It's the Polish zloty, I guess. Okay. And then the second column, excuse me, the second column is always going to be US dollar equivalent. And basically, that is the number of dollars it takes to buy 1 unit of a foreign currency. I'll say that again. That second column is the number of dollars it takes to buy the foreign currency. And in this example for Polish zloty, we have 0.2978. Okay. Then we have the third column. And the third column says currency per US dollars. And that one is 3.3576. Okay. And again, that third column that we have is currency per US dollars, which means the amount of foreign currency it takes to buy 1 US dollar. Okay. So number A says if you have $180, how many Polish zloty can you get? So if you remember in class, we said we take the amount we have, which is 180 US dollars. Okay. We then multiply that by the zloty, because that's where we're going to go to, right? That's the currency we want. So we're going to multiply that $180 by, that's a Z for the zloty, the exchange rate of 3.3576 per $1. So basically what we're saying here is for every 1 US dollar that we have, we can get 3.3576 Polish zloty. Excuse me. So we take the amount we have in US dollars and we multiply it by the exchange rate. Okay. And we end up with the amount of zlotys we can get of 604.37. Okay. And then letter B. Letter B says, how much is €1 worth in US dollars? Okay. So again, we ask ourselves, what do we have? Well, we have €1. Okay. What are we going to? Well, the euro, we're going to the dollar, right? So since we're going to the dollar, we need to figure out how many euros, or I'm sorry, let me phrase that, how many dollars 1 euro can buy us, okay? So we have €1. We need to multiply that by the right exchange or the right exchange rate. So where are we going? Well, we're going into dollars, right? So we want to use the US dollar equivalent. So we're going to multiply 1 euro by 1.2198 euros per dollar. So our answer ends up being, how many euros can we get in the US dollar? Well, we can get 1.2198 euros. Okay, now let's look at C. C says, if you have 5.8 million euros, how many dollars do you have? Okay, so that's easy, right? It's pretty easy. We're sticking with the same, for lack of a better term, formula. How much do we have? Well, we have 5.8 million euros, right? Times, well, what's the exchange rate? Well, remember, we're in euros. We want to know what's the number of dollars that it takes to buy foreign currency, okay? So we have the euro of 5.8. We need to, 5.8 million. We need to multiply that by the exchange rate, 1.2198 per dollar, or per euro, right? Because 1.2198 euros gets us $1, okay? And I apologize, that should have been a euro up there. So we multiply those out, and we end up with 7,074,896. Okay? Now D. D asks us, which is worth more, a New Zealand dollar or a Singapore dollar? So if we look at New Zealand dollar and we compare it to the Singapore dollar, we want to see which one's more, meaning which one of these is worth more to the US dollar, right? And we see that the New Zealand dollar is 0.8087 and the Singapore dollar is 0.8010. So in that case, the New Zealand dollar is definitely worth more. Okay. Remember, we're quoting everything in terms of US dollar. E says, which is worth more, the Mexican peso or the Chilean peso? Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at the Mexican peso and we're going to look at the Chilean peso. So what are the number of dollars it takes to buy the foreign currency, right? Well, it takes $1 to buy 0.0752 Mexican pesos. It takes $1 to buy 0.002071 Chilean pesos. So in that case, the Mexican peso is actually worth more than the Chilean peso. Okay? So F1. F1 says, how many Swiss francs can you get for a euro? Okay, so let's work that one out, right? I'm going to go to a new slide here, so bear with me. Okay, so F1 basically wants us to convert money, right? How many Swiss francs can you get for a euro? So what do we have? Well, we have the euro, right? We want to get Swiss francs. That makes sense because we're saying, hey, how many Swiss francs can you get with a euro? Okay, so what's the euro exchange rate? Well, the euro exchange rate, we already figured that out, right? The euro exchange rate we already identified as 1.2198. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we have Swiss francs. So what are the Swiss francs, right? Meaning, and what we want to ask ourselves here is, when we're looking at the Swiss franc, how many, or what's the amount of foreign currency that we can buy per US dollar, okay? So we have to look at it this way, and we got to kind of be a little cattywampus, so to speak, in our logic, right? So for the euro, what's the US dollar equivalent? Meaning, what are the number of dollars it takes to buy foreign currency? Well, for the euro, it's 1.2198. For the Swiss francs, we know that Swiss francs, the amount of foreign currency per US dollar it can buy. So a Swiss franc can buy 0.9830 US dollars. Okay? So if we multiply these two together, we end up with 1.1991 Swiss francs to euros. Okay? And F2 just wants to know, what do we call this rate? Well, this is the cross rate, right? Because we're converting one currency into another currency, or one foreign currency into another foreign currency. Okay? So the next one we got to look at is number 2. And number 2 says, which would you rather prefer? And bear with me, I'm just going to erase this. Okay. So which would you rather have? Would you rather have $100? Or would you rather have 100 British pounds? So in order to really answer this question, we need to think about it, right? Which one's more, right? And if we look at the UK pound, because that's really all we're comparing it to, $100 versus American money versus pounds. And we'd really rather have the pound, right? That's easy. How do we know that? Because we can take the pound, we could take 1.5913 pounds and get 1 US dollar. Okay? So we'd rather have pounds. What's the amount? Well, let's think about it. What do we have? Well, we have 100 pounds. What's the exchange rate we're using? The exchange rate is the 1.5913 exchange rate for US dollars. So we're going to multiply the 100 pounds by the exchange rate, 1.5913, which ends up giving me 159 or $159.13. Okay? Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, or I'm sorry, B rather, which would you rather have? $100? Or would you rather have 100 Canadian dollars? Well, if we look at it, or I'm sorry, 100 Canadian dollars or 100 pounds. I apologize, 100 pounds. Well, we'd still rather have 100 pounds, right? Why? Well, we would have to use the dollar to pound exchange rate and the Canadian dollar to the American dollar exchange rate to find the amount of Canadian dollars 100 pounds will get us. Okay, let me say that again. First thing we're going to have to use is use the dollar to pounds exchange rate, and then we're going to use the Canadian dollar to the American dollar exchange rate. So if we take 100 pounds and we multiply it by the exchange rate, which is 1.5913, which we already have that answer. We already figured that out. It's $159.13. Then we need to multiply it by the Canadian dollar, right? Which the Canadian dollar is the 0.9900, which ends up giving us 1.5754 Canadian dollars to pounds. Okay? And then we get the third one, right? The third one says, C2 says, what is the cross rate for British pounds in terms of Canadian dollars? So here what we need to do is we need to figure out what's the cross rate for British pounds in terms of Canadian dollars, right? So what do we have? We have Canadian dollars. We want to get British pounds, right? So to figure this out, we come up here and say 1 pound equals how many Canadian dollars? Well, we already figured that out. 1.5754, right? So then we equate that to the pounds, which ends up being 0.6348 Canadian dollars, or I'm sorry, 0.6348 pounds compared to the Canadian dollar. Okay, which as I look at this was a issue of contention. And the more I look at this, and I looked at it after class, and I think it was group 1 with Kyle. He was right. The first one, or excuse me, C1 actually, is looking for Canadian dollars. So we have pounds, we want to go to Canadian dollars, okay? In C-2, we want to quote the cross rate for British pounds in terms of Canadian dollars. So we want to take the British pounds and say, how much are they worth in Canadian dollars? So in Canadian dollars, they're worth 0.6348, okay? And in terms of, in C1, we want to say in terms of in terms of Canadian dollars, how many British pounds do we have? So we actually want to quote that in terms of Canadian dollars. So that's the first two. Glad we were able to clear that up. We did 3 in class. I'll buzz through 3 real quick, and I think we were pretty good on that one. So number 3 looks at the spot exchange rate for Canadian dollars and the 6-month forward rate. So A says, which is worth more, a US dollar or a Canadian dollar? Okay, well, we're going to say that the US dollar is actually going to be worth more, right? How do we know that? Well, we're comparing the spot rates in terms of those dollars, or the US dollar, right? So we look at it and we see that, okay, if we have a Canadian dollar, how many American dollars can we buy? Well, the exchange rate is at spot rate, right? Canadian dollars is 1.3 or 1.03 per dollar. So the Canadian dollar times the exchange rate, by the way, forget that slash there, times the exchange rate of 1.03 is going to get me 0.9709. Okay, so the US dollar is going to be worth more. Now, letter B says, assuming absolute purchasing power, what is the cost in the United States of an Elkhead beer if the price in Canada is Canadian dollars, $3.20? So we have Canadian dollars of $3.20. Okay, we want to convert this to US dollars and figure out how much does that beer cost, right? Well, the beer should cost the same amount. It should have the same value, but looking at those different, looking at it through the lines of the exchange rate, right? So we already know that we have $320. We want to go to US dollars. Well, what's the exchange rate? Well, the exchange rate says I can get, it takes 1.03 Canadian dollars to get $1, right? So I would take the exchange rate of 1.03 per US dollar, means that the Elkhead beer is going to cost $3.11, or if you work out the math, it's 3.107. Okay, let's look at C. C says, is the US dollar selling at a premium or a discount relative to the Canadian dollar? Well, the US dollar is selling at a premium. Why? Well, because it's more expensive in the forward market than in the spot market, right? We're going to compare 1.05 Canadian dollars, which is the forward, to 1.03 in the spot market. So that's letter C. Letter D says, which currency is expected to appreciate in value? Well, which currency is expected to appreciate in value is going to be the US dollar. It's expected to appreciate in value relative to the Canadian dollar because it takes more Canadian dollars to buy one US dollar in the future than it does today. So E asks, if you had to guess, which country do you think has the higher interest rate, the US or Canada? Well, the interest rate in Canada, those are probably higher than they are in the US. Okay? So that's 1 through 3. I'm going to stop, kind of break these off in chunks so that way you don't have to sit here for, I don't know, however long it takes us to get through them. So that's what we'll do. We'll do 3 problems, start a new video, do 3 problems, start another video, and so forth. Okay, so go ahead and tune back in or tune back in our next video. We're going to cover 4, 5, and 6.